돈이 다 좋은데 냄새가 별로야, 냄새가. 요거 2개 가져다가 요트 하나만 알아봐라. 제일 빠른 거.
This man, who stacks money inside a warehouse as if it were worthless paper, is the biggest financial fraudster in Korean history. The amount he stole reached 3 trillion won. To escape arrest, he faked his death and fled to the Philippines with his trusted partner, Mother Kim, where they began living an extravagant life. They own a vast private estate guarded around the clock by heavily armed bodyguards.
친구들 나와. 로그나 잡으러 가자. 가자.
With his respectable appearance, extraordinary powers of persuasion, and powerful criminal connections, President Jin quickly accumulated a fortune large enough to rival an entire nation. He bribed senior Korean officials to clear the way for him while staging fake charity events for struggling families. To the public, President Jin appears to be a wealthy, powerful, yet kind-hearted financial investor, but beneath that image, he is a greedy and ruthless crime boss who is cunning, violent, and completely indifferent to human life. As the most successful con man in Korean history, President Jin's acting skills are almost unbelievable. Anyone unaware of the truth would be completely inspired by his speeches. His scam is actually very simple. Convince people to invest in a financial product he created. By investing 100,000 won, they are promised 200 won in interest every day, allowing them to recover their original investment in less than 18 months. After that, every payment would supposedly become pure profit. President Jin even promises to return their original investment once he has earned enough money. To make the public believe him, he invents countless investment projects, including reclaiming land to build luxury villas and purchasing a bank. He even spends 500 million won bribing Korea's finance minister. Anyone thinking clearly would recognize the scheme as a scam. Yet countless people across the country still believe him. They see President Jin as the savior who will help them achieve financial freedom. After accepting the bribe, the finance minister casually mentions President Jin's plan to purchase a bank during a media interview. The public immediately becomes excited and begins investing in President Jin's company like never before. The amount of money flowing into the company rises at an unbelievable speed. President Jin knows the entire scheme will eventually be exposed. As soon as the money reaches the company accounts, he divides it into smaller amounts and secretly transfers it away. He also orders Mother Kim to prepare everything they need to flee the country at any moment.
对吧？
对。
以后掌握100万美金。
One of the most important people working under President Jin is his right-hand man, Park Jang-gun. Jang-gun is a core executive responsible for the company's entire computer network. Every illegal transfer and cash withdrawal is handled by him. The police have been watching President Jin's criminal organization for a long time, but they have never obtained enough evidence to arrest him. The network of officials and powerful figures bought with President Jin's money is simply too strong. With a single phone call, there is almost nothing he cannot accomplish. His most valuable possession is a secret ledger containing the names of every official connected to him. The police's main objective is to obtain that ledger. To achieve this, Detective Kim Jae-myung secretly approaches Jang-gun and attempts to recruit him as an informant. Jang-gun is given 2 choices: cooperate with the police and reduce his sentence, or spend the rest of his life in prison. With no other option, Jang-gun agrees. But when Jang-gun follows Detective Kim's instructions and arrives at President Jin's villa, he immediately drops to his knees. He confesses that the police threatened him and ordered him to steal the ledger. President Jin does not appear surprised. He slowly takes out his phone and shows Jang-gun footage of the police taking him away. President Jin already knew everything. The only reason he did nothing was because he enjoyed the feeling of controlling the entire situation. Jang-gun freezes in fear and feels relieved that he confessed before it was too late. Trying to prove his loyalty, Jang-gun offers to distract the officers watching the villa and buy President Jin enough time to escape. But while President Jin is not looking, Jang-gun secretly steals the ledger lying nearby. This time, President Jin appears to suspect nothing and accepts Jang-gun's suggestion. After leaving the villa with the ledger, Jang-gun quickly drives away and takes a deep breath, believing he has escaped. But at that moment, an assassin slowly rises from the back seat.
언제부터 계셨어요?
When Detective Kim arrives, Zhang Gun is already unconscious and badly injured. The ledger has also disappeared. Meanwhile, President Jean realizes that his operation is about to be exposed and immediately begins executing his escape plan. He orders his men to destroy every company record and hard drive inside industrial shredders. All digital information in the system will also be erased within an hour. Mother Kim reacts just as quickly.
这是全费，你都拿10%的手续费，行了吧？
Soon afterward, President Jean and Mother Kim escape Korea with a massive amount of money. They also take the bribery ledger.
자금 꼬인 거 사실이잖아. 우리 쪽 입금 못 받은 지도 꽤 됐고 저번 꼴 나는 거 아니냐고 난리야 난리. 어? 너 그렇게 막 나가면 뒤처리 힘든 거 몰라?
난 또 내가 어르신을 업고 있는 줄 알았지. 야, 이 돈만 처먹는 돼지 새끼야. 그냥 가만히 엎여 계세요. 내가 알아서 넉넉히 챙겨 드릴게. 여보세요. 아니 왜 말을 하는데 전화를 끊고 지랄이야 이 개새끼.
Which President Jean considers his greatest protection against the powerful officials he once paid. Mother Kim has always been President Jin's most capable partner. When she hears him openly insulting the officials who protected them in Korea, she quickly warns him to control himself. But there is no loyalty left between President Jean and Mother Kim. After repeatedly being insulted and humiliated by him, Mother Kim can no longer suppress her resentment. She secretly begins planning to betray President Jean and seize the money he stole. After defrauding the Korean public of 3 trillion won, President Jean fakes his death and escapes to the Philippines. He leaves behind countless families who have lost everything and fallen into despair. 1 year later, President Jean begins another operation in the Philippines. He and Mother Kim reinvent themselves as wealthy Chinese philanthropists who provide free assistance to impoverished local communities. But anyone who believes President Jean has suddenly developed a conscience would be completely wrong. His true objective is to approach a powerful Philippine senator and use the Eco-Manila Development Project to obtain government investment funds. The senator believes every word and is so grateful to the 2 Chinese philanthropists that he wants to sign an agreement immediately. The senator's term is about to end, and he also wants to complete one final major project to strengthen his political career. To move the plan forward, President Jean promises to raise $3 billion within 1 month. Because he fled Korea in such a hurry, President Jean still needs to move a massive amount of hidden money out of the country to fund his $3 billion share of the project. To transfer the money within such a short time, he needs the help of a professional money laundering organization. President Jean contacts attorney Huang, who remained in Korea, and orders him to handle the arrangements. He also calls senior Korean officials and demands their cooperation, but the officials have become dissatisfied because the amount of money President Jean pays them has decreased. The relationship between the 2 sides becomes increasingly tense. President Jean is ruthless and never considers Mother Kim's feelings, repeatedly ignoring and humiliating her. After another humiliation, Mother Kim finally begins putting her plan into action. She first recruits President Jin's most dangerous assassin.
총 좀 줘봐. 다른 거 없어?
있지.
진 회장이랑 나랑 물에 빠졌어. 누구부터 건질 거야?
Then she approaches Park Jang-gun, who once betrayed President Jean, and reveals her entire plan. Mother Kim wants to steal the $6 billion transaction and offers Jang-gun 10% of the money. What she does not know is that Jang-gun is already cooperating with the police. Her proposal gives him exactly the opportunity he needs. Jang-gun agrees to help, but adds one more condition: they must also obtain President Jin's money laundering ledger. Blinded by hatred, Mother Kim suspects nothing. After learning about the plan, Detective Kim disguises himself as a professional money launderer and makes contact with attorney Huang. He tells Huang that they must discuss the transaction face-to-face. With little time remaining, President Jean temporarily agrees while secretly investigating Detective Kim's identity. The two sides soon arrange to meet on the street, but a calculating man like President Jean would never enter the meeting without preparing a trap. He orders his men to secretly abduct Detective Kim and take him to the real transaction site. Despite the danger, Detective Kim remains completely calm. He helps President Jean complete the money laundering process while delaying the transaction and waiting for police support. At the same time, Mother Kim begins her own operation and drives toward the transaction site with two accomplices. Soon, the entire $6 billion transaction is completed. President Jean immediately drops the act.
다 모였네. 그래서 정했어?
네?
김 엄마가 물었잖아. 물에 빠지면 누구부터 구할 건지. 결정해. 그까짓 거 몇 장 찍는데 수억을 썼어요.
Everything has been under his control from the beginning. He already investigated the police operation and understood Mother Kim's plan, but deliberately allowed them to continue so he could trap everyone at once. With their identities exposed, the fate awaiting Detective Kim and Jang Gun seems obvious.
자기 돈을 먹으려고 며칠을 고민을 했는데 아니 그 좋은 머리를 왜 공무원 월급 받는 데 쓰고 있어?
그럼 넌 그 머리를 왜 사기치는 데는 쓰고 있지?
10억, 100억이 됐을 때는 경제사범이라고 높여 불러줘. 근데 그게 조 단위가 됐을 때는 뭐라고 부를 것 같아?
뭐라 부르던 너 같은 놈들 감옥 들어가면 다 똑같아.
지금 감옥 들어가 계신 분 있나? 다들 사면 받잖아. 그게 세상이야.
President Jean truly is a master of high-level financial crime. With the outcome apparently decided, he no longer wants to waste time speaking to the two men he believes he has defeated. He picks up the phone and orders his men to prepare the yacht for their escape, thinking about the fortune he has stolen, enough to last for several lifetimes. President Jean cannot stop himself from smiling. He believes he has finally escaped justice forever, but in the next second, the situation changes completely. It turns out that everything has been part of the police operation.
뭐야? 야 이거 뭐야? 야 이거 왜 이래? 아니.
The $6 billion transferred into President Jin's account is suddenly moved away without his authorization. President Jin's emotions instantly swing from triumph to rage. He prepares to make Detective Kim and Jang Gun pay, but it is already too late. Police reinforcements arrive and surround the entire area. With Detective Kim and Jang Gun working together, President Jean is finally arrested. Even after being captured, he continues calling the powerful officials listed in his ledger and begging them to save him, but not a single person answers. The man who once controlled countless officials is now completely alone. Having lost both his fortune and his closest partners, President Jean is eventually returned to Korea to face trial, and the victims finally got back the money they had lost in the scam.
저 주장들 억울함을 금할 길이 없습니다.